The Lucas County Board of Developmental Disabilities presents Larc Lane Conversations with your hosts, Chris Hart and Jane Meyer.
Thank you, Dave. I'm Chris Hart.
And hi, I'm Jane Meyer. Thank you, Dave, for the introduction.
Hello, and this is our April edition of Larc Lane Conversations, which coincides with Autism Awareness Month. Some interesting things that I found out about Autism Awareness Month was that it was actually developed in 1970, or first named in 1970 by Dr. Bernard Rimlin, who had a son that was autistic, and he chose April because it was his son's birthday month and because he felt that the springtime represented a time of new beginnings, and that's what he was hoping to accomplish through the development of the Autism Awareness Month. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Hey, now with our episode 2 that we got going here, and I know from episode 1, we had our guest Joey, who had worked with the Toledo Lucas County Library, and they also gave us a shout out for sharing their part in assisting him with his job or his business acumen.
It was so interesting to hear how they had so much resources for small business owners and people just starting out for free in the community.
And just the support that they really did offer him to get through all of that and help him with his journey to getting ready to start his own business.
And having the continued interest, that they're following, that he's being successful with it and that he's moving forward with it. So
they were able to take his vision and put it to, as we saw, the sweatshirts and the logos and the hats.
Yep. Joey's got it going.
Yeah. Meeting his goals.
Again, back to autism awareness. I know when we were talking about doing the autism awareness, we were talking about some different things related to autism awareness. And one of the things that I found interesting was the whole puzzle piece idea from autism that they use for the autism awareness. And that was actually developed back in 1963, so it's been around for 50 years now, and that was chosen because the puzzle piece represented a symbol of strength and unity and power and empowerment, because one puzzle piece on its own needs the other puzzle pieces to make it part of the whole picture. And, every person that has autism is different, and they need various supports to, become successful in the community. And that's kind of what we've found and talked to about, is the fact that there's a team that's there to, assist individuals and, all the stuff that they do, to make a person successful.
Right. Just another piece to the puzzle, whether it's a community or family or
make all those connections.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Connected all together.
All together.
Well, and another thing that I did find was that there are a lot of famous people that say they have diagnosis of an autism spectrum disorder. And then there's also a lot of historical figures that, although they weren't necessarily diagnosed with an autism spectrum disorder, people looking at their lives and descriptions of some of their behaviors and things like that have made, experts think that, these people were actually had autism spectrum disorders as well. And being that it's the diagnostic criteria for autism spectrum disorders is more subjective, you can go back and look at a person if you have a good body of their work to be able to, pick out those different types of quirks or whatever that a lot of times indicate that a person has a spectrum disorder. I know a lot of the historical ones that I thought were interesting was like Albert Einstein and Charles Darwin are both, and it seems like it's a lot of like your more intelligent scientists and things like that, because it's, as we all know with spectrum disorders, a lot of times they're very focused and people become very focused on specific areas that they are particularly interested in, so you look like Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, they were both considered to potentially be
a lot of inventors, like creative people,
Tesla,
outside the box,
Isaac Newton. There's a whole list of these people that they feel that just because some of the things, and a lot of their lives are very well chronicled, so there's people have written about the different behaviors that they have, not being able to maintain eye contact. Some of them have very OCD type behaviors where they have to have. I know one thing that I always thought was interesting was Albert Einstein used to wear the same outfit every day so that he didn't have to think about what clothes he was going to wear. He had like 10 outfits that were exactly the same, and he just put on Tuesdays or Wednesdays or Thursdays and didn't have to use that part of his brain to think about what he was going to wear.
Yeah.
So I always thought that was...
Seems like there's a lot of historical figures or inventors that was more male dominated. They were diagnosed.
And if you look at statistics, males are much more prevalent to have autistic spectrum disorder diagnoses than females are. I don't know what the number is off the top of my head, but I thought it was something like 70% or something like that much difference. Yeah. And I know like some of the current people that have spectrum disorders that have admitted and have been diagnosed with them are like Jerry Seinfeld. Somebody who's in the news all the time recently is Elon Musk, and he's said that he has Asperger's, which isn't really a diagnosis anymore, but it is part of the spectrum disorders. Daryl Hannah, Bill Gates, Steven Spielberg, these are all people that actually have spectrum disorders and have been diagnosed with spectrum disorders. So
I think it is interesting because they're all innovators in their own way. They've all kind of cut their own path. They're all noted for out of the box thinking and looking at a different perspective of bringing that to the table.
And working in the field, you can see the quirks and stuff, having worked for a long time. I know, Chris, you know a lot about autism spectrum disorders and stuff as well. And you can a lot of times notice that kind of
some of the differences
and,
males, females, it manifests differently as
absolutely.
well. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So I thought that was some
it's very
interesting history about the about
tidbits.
autism and autism spectrum disorders.
Well, welcome back. We have a special guest today. We have Sarah Diesch with us today. She currently is serving as the director of the Provider Support Department and has been at the board for 24 years, I believe, this year.
I think so. It might be 23 because I think I did my, history wrong because
did your
I've
math
been
wrong?
doing this forever.
Well, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, we're so glad that you're here, that you joined us. And this is the second podcast. Can you believe it? We're already rolling into our second one.
We're old pros.
So when we were talking about some questions and that what people want to know, what would you tell providers that are just starting out and coming on and seeing whether they're an independent provider or an agency provider? What would you want them to know?
So I think there's a couple of really important things to remember when you want to get into this field. It is, obviously I've been in the field for a really long time, and so it is very rewarding to me. But I also think that there's a lot to becoming a provider.
Yeah.
So whether you're an independent provider or you're a agency provider, there are a lot of rules that have to be followed. And so I typically see one of the areas where providers might struggle is with all of the rules. And that's really one of the reasons that the Provider Support Department is in place, is so that our providers have somewhere that they can call and ask questions and get some guidance on what needs to be done. But really having passion for our individuals and wanting to make sure that our individuals live their best life.
I think that was so important because it is true. Because when you get in the business to be a provider, you are passionate about what you do. You love to serve. You love to volunteer and help people and see people grow. And then you're like, oh, I'm a business owner.
Yes.
And I have rules.
Yep.
And I have to follow them.
Yeah. And there's a lot of rules. And they're not really very easy to understand because they're written in all that
Legal jargon.
lawyer speak.
Yeah.
And so really getting down to the nitty gritty of what it is that needs to be done as a provider.
You made me think too when you were talking. So it's good to have someone who could be a right-hand man. So if you have a passion for serving and doing the vision and being the CEO, you need a counterpart who loves the rules, who enjoys the rules.
It certainly helps. It certainly helps because yes, there are a lot of rules to follow. And how do you follow all of those rules and still be able to serve?
Yes.
And so that is not an easy task for anyone by any means. And we have a lot of providers that do it very well.
We help a lot, right?
Yeah, they can always call the provider support department. It's why we started our Ask Provider Support internally and externally, and why we have the number to call our provider support unit, one place where they can call so that they can get a live person who is going to help them if they have a question about a rule or how to interpret something, or whether this particular thing that's going on, does that meet criteria? Are they following all of those rules? There's just a lot.
I would say as provider support's phone call and email have rolled out, we do get a lot of questions, I think, about rules.
We get a lot of questions about rules. We get a lot of questions about general how to run your business questions sometimes, and how we support them in that way. So I think it's a good platform to have. It's a place they can come and ask freely and not be so concerned, you know. So do you find that the Ask Provider Support has been successful? Have you heard feedback from our providers about that?
I have heard feedback. I've had quite a few people tell me that they like being able to call one place where they know that somebody is going to answer their question, that there's an expectation that we get back with them. And honestly, sometimes we don't know the answer either. And or we need to also consult the rules and look at exactly what is stated to say, yes, this particular scenario does fit the rule, or it fits the rule except for just this one little piece. And so we might need to change that a little bit. And then, yes, it does follow the
rule.
It does follow the rule.
You have a unique background because not only were you a provider,
yes,
and a DSP,
yes,
and a residential facility, as well as investigative agent, and then was a coordinator of the investigative agents, and then also moving into provider support. What do you think in all those hats bringing to the table what's your perspective like for where we're going?
So I think my ultimate goal, and when I interviewed for the director of provider supports, my passion is obviously with our individuals. But again, in order for our individuals to be successful, everybody around them needs to be successful, and we all need to be working towards the same goal. So my passion is also our provider field. Our providers have one of the, if not the most difficult job out there. They are responsible for individuals' lives. They're to ensure the individual's health and safety, while following all of these rules and trying to help our individuals live their best life. And so my passion and where we always need to be going is what other things do we need to have to help support our providers? I want our providers to know that they can call us, that we are going to give them accurate information, and that we're going to partner with them. And so if they're struggling with something, then we're going to help them get through that, whatever that struggle may be. And that we are always thinking of more innovative ways to serve individuals, to get individuals involved in our communities, to do more joint work with each other to elevate our field and to help our individuals truly be parts of their community.
I love that. I know when Chris and I were talking earlier, we talked about how you have a great way of bringing providers in a partnership way. You're involving them in agency provider meetings, you're involving them in committees, that you want their feedback, that we're here for them in that way. For the better we do, the better it is for individuals.
Absolutely. We truly are a partnership. If we're not a partnership, then we are not going to get where our individuals deserve us to be.
Right.
We support them. They'll support our individuals, and that's what it's all about, bridging all these partnerships together.
Absolutely.
Just supporting them where they are.
Absolutely.
For sure. Well, of all the jobs you've had, what is the most rewarding job that you've had? And I think you kind of answered that a little bit earlier.
So honestly, I've been really lucky in my career, because in any job that I've been a part of, I think for me at the time, it was also the right place to be at the time, but I've had a lot of really great experiences. So I loved being a DSP because I got to work directly with individuals. And I felt like I was doing something that was rewarding, and hopefully helping the individuals do the things that they wanted to do. And then when I worked at CLO, I got to be a service coordinator, which is what, which is what is now called an SSA. Obviously a little bit different job, but it was the essence of being the SSA, doing all of the service coordination, writing the plans, coordinating, etc. And I loved that. I did quality assurance for a while, which was, it's no longer a process that we do. But I really enjoyed being a quality assurance specialist because, again, I got to go in and talk with individuals and see what they wanted to do, what they were doing, if there was a way to make any changes in their plans to see if they had a goal that they wanted to accomplish. I could put that into the report, and then that needed to be looked at, and people could, the teams could then talk about it. And then I became an investigative agent, and I was a service coordinator at the time, and I truly don't know if it was something that I would have even applied for. But at the time, the then superintendent of the county board had come to one of our staff meetings and had told us that he was dissolving CLO, and they hoped they had a position for all of us. And I was 9 months pregnant with my second child, and I was like, okay, well, now what am I going to do? And so there was this position called investigative agent that I'd never heard of. That's because it was brand new. Mm-hmm. But the job description really interested me because I like putting puzzles together. I like figuring out kind of what's going on. And so I applied for that and thankfully was offered that position. And so the day that I started at the county board was when the MUI unit was born. And so I loved being an investigative agent.
Your face
it was
lit up.
Hard. It was hard because
Star was born.
Yes.
Because when you're doing investigations, you don't get to meet the individual when something fantastic has happened to them, mm-hmm. right? It's usually when something not so positive has happened. And so that piece was always difficult, but I always felt like I got to make a difference because I got to give that individual a chance to tell their story, to really say, and have a choice in what happened from there. And so that's very empowering. And so I loved that. And I also loved being able to put the puzzle together to figure out what exactly happened and then be able to give the team the findings to say, here's what happened and here's the things that the team needs to talk about to be able to put prevention in place to hopefully ensure that never happened to that individual again. So I also loved that. And then I got to be the coordinator, and at first I was the only coordinator for a while. Loved being an MUI coordinator because I still, again, kind of getting a little bit more removed from the individual, which is quite honestly the only piece that I don't like. Is being a little bit farther removed. Mm-hmm. But I still got to I feel like every day I get to make a difference. Mm-hmm. And that's what's important to me.
Just from knowing you as when you were an MUI coordinator and also an investigative agent, I think one of the things that you did really well at is because when a provider, a family member, an individual, when you hear that you get a phone call from an investigative agent, you already know that there's a panic, there's a lot of concern.
Absolutely.
But you were able to work with the teams and the individuals, and this is what we learned. How can we make it better moving in the future, and how can we prevent it from happening again? And I think that is so important when you look at investigations and the reporting and how we can improve moving forward.
Yeah, and I think that my background as being a DSP and moving up kind of in that provider agency, that really helped with me being an investigative agent, because I understand how things happen or how it could happen. And it's very important to get everybody on board. And I think that even though sometimes the news that I delivered, it's not always the most positive news, but that could be done in a way that is empathetic and compassionate and real.
Yes.
So critical.
Having those difficult conversations.
Absolutely.
So you're 29. Chris and I are 29.
And holding.
I'm sure the camera's showing that.
Yeah, of course. Don't get close. What would you tell your 20-year-old self?
Oh, lighten up. And patience. So obviously 2 things that I'm still not the greatest at. But I have learned and still learning. I think it will always be something that for me, I have to remember is that I don't have control over everything. And I think that's really the bottom line. I want everything to happen and it should go in this order, and that's not real life.
Yes.
And so myself now looks back at when I was younger and first think, ooh. I always look back at some of those first investigations that I did and think, I would really like to redo that because I've learned more.
Right.
And so I would probably do things differently because I've learned more. But yeah, patience is probably the big one for me.
That's a fair answer.
Yeah, it's still a work in progress.
All of us.
All of us, for sure. With age comes patience.
Yes.
After 29, it does.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like there should be a drum roll added to this question.
I feel like I'm
there
getting
really
set up.
It's
Okay.
very, very important.
We would just like to know and really put some thought into this.
Okay.
Who your favorite employee is.
Yeah, so it's not Jane. I'm just kidding. So,
She answered too fast, I think. I think that was, right? It was too fast. It was too...
okay, so for background, we had a long meeting on Friday.
Yes.
And we were joking around. And I told Jane she was not my favorite employee. And so I really was kidding. I mean, I don't have a favorite.
Because you love us all.
Because I do. I'm really fortunate that I get to work with the group of individuals that I do in both the provider support side and the MUI side. Okay, and I'm going to get emotional. I think all of the staff in our department truly, truly believe in our county board's mission, and they have a passion for the providers and for the work that we do. So I truly am blessed every day to work with the folks that I work with.
I think so, too. We love our coworkers.
Great answer.
So, yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Episode. It was awesome. It was good. We're so glad to have a special guest at Larc Lane Conversations. And Jordan, I'm meeting you today for the first time. Thank you for being here. But I've heard a lot about you from so many different people that I was so glad to have you on today. So thanks for joining us for our second podcast at Larc Lane Conversations.
Happy to be here.
Yes, I'm so glad. So is there anything first that you wanted to kind of share about yourself or tell the audience that might not know you?
Well, can I say, growing up with autism is a bit of a emotional roller coaster. And then I got involved with Salute. That's on Larc Lane. It's an organization for self-advocate to let your voice be heard. And I've been busy as a bumblebee.
You are a busy guy.
And that's nothing compared to the things I've done. I've done Special Olympics, which is... I've done shot put, which is I'm doing that for the second time. It's been a while. I've done 100-meter dash, powerlifting. I'm doing mini javelin.
Oh, that's
flag football, softball, and basketball.
Wow.
Tell me about Salute. How do you like Salute?
Well, I just want to use my experience from what I've gone through just to make sure everyone who don't know what it means to be when someone heard the other names like retarded or all those words. But for me, I just notice when someone's like fidgeting or moving their hands around, like, excuse me, is your son or kid has a developmental disability? She's like, yes, how do you know? Because I am like that too. It's just like,
So you can recognize it.
yeah, I'm easy to recognize when that person is like, and I could understand what they're saying or how they think and feel. I mean, it happens to me a few times. I was on my shift at the zoo.
So you work at the zoo?
Yep, ever since 2017 as an employee.
What do you do at the zoo?
Park operations. Wow. And that's for parking lots. You had to handle like the parking, the directing. You had to hold one and then let that one go. Which one's leaving, which one's coming in. And not to mention the Greyhound buses, school buses, and on very rare occasions, semi-trucks. We don't have oh my goodness. Like a price like, I asked my supervisor, like, excuse me, what's the price for semi-trucks? We have one for trucks, SUVs, all that stuff, but not semi-trucks.
A little birdie told me recently that did you get your driver's license?
Yeah.
That's congratulations to you.
That's tied with getting my first gold medal in Special Olympics, and
awesome.
not that still tops driving the train at the zoo.
You're driving it?
Jane, I feel like you're in the presence of greatness.
I see that already.
Jeez.
And
You had quite a year.
yeah, while you're driving the train, you have to think like
Yes.
assist. Because when you go up ahead, you have to speed it up. But when you come to an equal level, you ease up. But when you go down, then it's like, okay, I need to ease up, which is back, air brakes. And you get to experience so many things. Then if you want to get involved with the zoo, you know where to look.
When you drive the train, do you have to also talk about the animals, or is your main job to drive the train?
Oh, there's 4 different places where you're on the train crew. One's the driving the train. One is the commentary, which is the mic. The one who's controlling the guests with the ticket clicker. And the one who's doing exiting the guests. And then you had to do it all over again.
So you kind of have a lot of responsibility there.
And that's another compared to the parking lot, which is all the craziness.
Or all the casses.
Yeah, but when it gets to the busiest, like the Pumpkin Path of 2023, it's the busiest. That all of our parking lot is full of, and I got like a few visitors like, where's the parking spot? I've been doing this like 5 to 6 times. Yeah, the one place I handle it the best I can. Yeah. I got like 3 times that I was like, please don't get out of my face. But thank God my supervisor was there to handle it. I was like, thank you, man. He's like, take a 30-minute to decompress. Like, okay.
Well, that's nice. Sounds like you have a nice supervisor.
You have no idea how crazy it could get out in the parking lot. And then there's the giraffing deck if you go to the Africa exhibit, which is you go to the continent of Africa, but you're actually there. But you had to control how many people go in to see the giraffes, but you had to keep an eye out for, hey, no shortcuts.
That's a tough job.
You better believe it.
Very tough job. I understand, too, you have a special pet at home.
Oh, boy. Yep. Well, make that 2 because we got a Miss Piggy added to Potbelly short-snouted German pig.
Oh, really?
Her name's Pork Chop. It's it's come with it, but we thought it's going to be a cute little teacup pig. But when we first met her, like, oh, Lord, that is not a teacup-sized pig. The thing is, there's no such thing as a teacup piglet because you can just fit in your purse, but then that's as good a good look, and then boom, boom, boom. It's like a growth spurt. Good Lord.
Bigger than anticipated.
Yeah, she's like 230 or 240 pound pig because every time
Smokes.
but I'm using her every time my stepdad goes, so every time I hear her, I'm like, oh, Mark's home. She can felt his presence.
Oh, shit.
So she's like a piggy doorbell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Did you say you had 2? You had Pork Chop and Miss Piggy? Or it's
No.
another pet?
We have a Skye Terrier, a purebred
okay.
Skye Terrier.
Pretty.
Her name's Moa. We just had to do her fur trim. She can't see with all this mop in her face, and every time in the pure darkness, we had to give her like a light collar so we could see where she is. Because without it, if she sees something, she boom darts into the dark and like, oh shoot, where is she?
Can't find
Where
her.
is she? I'm like one time, and she has that pure. What is she like a possum? She just like
Yes.
tossing around like a rag doll. Like Jesus. We have like 3 different types of terriers. Well, 2 actually. 2 of them are Jack Russells. 1 is a rat terrier, but none came close to our Jack because it happened on one rainy day. My mom was letting him out. Oh, he was like because under the deck of my old home where we used to live by Miracle Mile, it was raining. I was like soaked, and Mama was trying to get the hose. Like, oh my god, my dog's being he can't up. So we grabbed the dog, Jack, who was tackling a possum like half his size, like.
Wow.
It's like a wolverine go up against a grizzly bear. And Mom's like, oh my God, that's blood all over him. And Mark's like, that's not his blood. That's the possum's blood.
Wow.
The only thing he got left is a scratch on the nose. And I was like,
dog.
dang, our dog's a possum scrapper.
What did the dogs think of pork chop?
I say only more because our previous ones had a very good life, but they have some problems. But Jack lived about to 17 years, and Sassy lived 15, and Jill right behind Sassy. But the oldest dog I ever known is Buddy. He's a Chihuahua Terrier mix because he lived a very long life, and my mom is like, we don't know what's keeping that dog alive because every time he sees my mom, he goes, it's like a possum growl.
Uh-oh.
And then we used to have cats, but most of them didn't last long as our Maine Coon cat, who is like 5 pounds. She can't see or hear, but she's in perfect health. Her name's Pancake. My mom has an odd way of naming all.
That's a good name. I love it. Creative.
She has an odd way of naming our pets food names. Pancake, waffles, omelet. I like.
Easy to remember. Breakfast lover, huh?
Yeah.
Jordan, tell me about your first gold medal. That's pretty exciting.
Oh yeah, I believe this has happened post-COVID of 18 or 19. I was doing 100-meter dash, and I was doing shot put. And this year I'm returning back to shot put because it's been ever since COVID hit. We were doing the 100-meter dash, and then you just get like those machines hold your foot, and then you hear a starter's pistol, pow, and I heard someone says, because one of the contestants tripped, and I tried to look. I look back from. I heard someone says, "Run!" My body's just like, "Run, run!"
Yes.
You see the fence? Run to it! Run! Don't you dare stop!
Was that your mom?
That or my Crazy Sherry, which is the coach. That's her nickname because she's crazy when it comes to coaching spring or summer. And then the other is shot put. You just go do like this. You just go and then toss as hard as you can. And I got first place on both of them.
Like, that's amazing. That's awesome.
But when we do the state, I just did my best. And then this guy came out like he's dressed. He has like a headband. It's like, oh boy, I go up against someone who looks like someone from a video game. And he has this very unique way where he's toys like around and around. And I was speechless. I'm like, you kidding me? I put all the effort I have.
Did you win your gold medal in the running or the shot put?
Both.
Oh, you won them in both. That's awesome.
Yeah. Can you believe a big guy like me could really run that fast before I hit the 20-minute mark? I even participated in the Dark Dash at the zoo once, and I did it so close before that 1 hour mark hit. I was like so exhausted, but that's nothing compared to the unified basketball. I had to go up against 2 or 3 college students against.
Oh, wow.
Man, I was like so exhausted. I just pushed myself harder. Like,
You're a hard worker. Yeah, worker. You do sports. You work hard. You do salute.
So, Jordan, you've done a lot. You've been involved with a lot. What do you feel like your greatest accomplishment has been?
Ooh, that's the billion-dollar question on my end. I just keep going and going. But for me personally, I just wanted to tell my side of the story, or do a book or autobiography of all the things I've done, the accomplishments, and just to make sure everyone's like, wow, if he could do it, maybe I should try. Just be like a role model, as a good example for those who are struggling as much as I am.
Showing people your journey, and they might be going through the same thing you did. I think that's wonderful.
I just want to be as a good example, because growing up without a role model is just pretty tough. So that's why I just try to find a good role model by watching shows I love to watch. But also show some sympathetic, or just show empathy, like Dog the Bounty Hunter, because every time he catches someone who is on bail or who the bond's revoked, he just shows by giving them prayers and graces of God to give them a second chance.
Shows that compassion.
Yeah.
I love how you love people. I love how you love animals, and I love how you're just so positive about your future. I think that I could tell why everybody was talking about you and how they love you, and you'll never, once you meet them, you won't forget.
You won't forget them. No.
I just want to keep going and going and going until I finally cross that finish line or reach the peak of Mount Everest. But right now, just keep climbing those mountains.
I love your goals.
We really appreciate you being on today, Jordan. It was such an honor to be able to interview you and get to know you a little bit better.
Let's move in, shall we?
Thank you, Jordan.
Thank you. We're here with Jordan's mom, Melissa Mayfield. Melissa, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you.
We were just going to get a little bit of a parent perspective, considering it's Autism Awareness Month. So tell us whatever it is that you would like to tell us about your journey.
Oh, boy. Jordan kind of touched on a little bit of that, talking about in the very beginning what got me triggered into doing all this. I was a newly divorced mom with 2 very small children, no support system whatsoever, and going just through trying to figure out what to do to help him. He was 5 years old. He still wasn't talking yet. And doctors kept saying, the traditional thing that we all went through back then, saying that he's just a boy. He'll get there. And it's like, something else going on here. So he went through preschool. We were in Sylvania, and he went to preschool there. And the principal calls me up one day and says, we're not going to be able to have him in kindergarten unless you hire an aide to come in here to be with him. I'm like, what? So his kindergarten or his preschool teacher was the one that had actually came up to me, and she had said, have you considered autism? And to me, it's like, autism, the only thing I knew about autism was Rain Man. So, and I'm like, he's not Rain Man. So just looking into that, contact the Autism Society. And at the time, there really was nothing available for kids at that age. So it's like, what can we do? And then to compound that, trying to work, I was working full time and having him in daycare. There just was not a lot of options for people with autism because, and so we ended up finding the YMCA, and he was working. He had a wonderful guy that was in charge of the program over there. His name was Jerry, and Jerry would take classes on the side to deal with people and to find out about how to help people with autism, and specifically with autism because he knew about Jordan, and he knew that the programs that they had didn't have a lot of training or anything like that for him. So he'd take classes on his own, and it was wonderful. He put in all the supports that we were looking for. Then one day he was told he can no longer do that. He can't support him any longer. It was this costing too much time and money and it wasn't, we weren't asking for considerable types of accommodations. We were just asking for a schedule and to let him know what was going to happen when it came up. So Jerry just got fed up with it and left. And so we were left with the person who was in charge of the program. They came in and said, the next day, she says, you've got one day and you need to find something else. And I'm like, So calls to the Autism Society, calls to the Ability Center, calls to everybody trying to find childcare for him was really hard. So we ended up touring a lot of places. And as soon as they heard he had autism, they said, no, we can't do that. It's like, but you don't even know what he does and what accommodations we have. We tried extensively with a lot of the training. He was going to Model Community School at the time. It was called Model Community. That's Model Autism School now. And he, all the training that they put forth, to the Y and all of their staff, and nothing was ever initiated or done. So he was of a 1-day warning. So we ended up having to go to court, actually, to get him some kind of childcare. Nothing is more terrifying as a parent as having her 5-year-old nonverbal child be in a situation that he can't tell me what's going on. And I was being called in constantly because he'd be underneath of a table with no clothes on, slamming his head on the wall, and it's like, you don't think that's a problem? There's something going on. He's trying to communicate with you. So it was just terrifying to go through the whole court process. And then once we did go through that, and we actually won, like Jordan said, then he had to be put back into that system, that same exact system, which was terrifying. But fortunately, there was some of the management there that had taken the responsibility to say, hey, let's make this work at a different location. And we did. And one of the people that was one of the most negative became one of his biggest advocates, which was wonderful. She was great. So that was kind of like my first jump into the whole thing with, all of the advocacy. And I know he can do this. He can do this. He's able to get a lot of this stuff accomplished. He just needs help doing it, and minimal help, because once you show him, he's really good at it. It's just finding the people that are willing to work with him and be able to say, this is wonderful. He's a great worker. He just needs these little accommodations. And now he's doing it on his own. I was like, oh, he got this chance. So yeah, he keeps me busy with all that. He's had other situations too. Getting into the zoo at the beginning, he wanted to be he wanted to be part of the volunteer program. So he went to school and at school, he got the grades that he needed to get in there, which was wonderful. We got the letters from his teachers to support him. We submitted all the paperwork and everything to become a zoo teen. And so they said that they had to take a test, essentially. And I said, well, he's going to need some help with that. Is that something that I can go in there with him and help? And they said, yeah, sure, absolutely. So we go there and he goes to take the test, and they wouldn't let me go in there with them. So a couple of days later, we get a phone call saying that he was just going to be too much work to support in the program, that wouldn't be a successful program. So I'm like, okay, I've got 2 routes I could go here. I could get really loud and start throwing things around, an ADA and all sorts of things. Or I could give them the tools to help them develop the program. And so I connected them. At the time, I was heavily involved with the Autism Society of Northwest Ohio. And so I connected them with Linnell and had Linnell come, Linnell Weinberg at the time. Jessica's working now at the county. So Linnell came in and did some training with them, got their staff ready, and they contacted us and wanted to know if we wanted to be, Jordan essentially calls himself the guinea pig for the program, the SNAP program, as special needs advocates in here. So they would end up pairing off people with varying disabilities with a peer, and then they'd work as a team, and it was wonderful. Is once the program started, I found out the degree of how stressful that test that Jordan was supposed to take. He was underneath the table again. So it's like, and nobody brought me in to say anything. So the person that was witnessing that, Alicia Ryback at the time, and she's out at Sunshine, and she was able to recognize that something else was going on. And she wanted to try to help in a situation to help people with, any type of disabilities to be able to be successful as a zoo team. So she brought this to her managers and bosses and said, hey, can we create this program? And they created the program and said, can you guys come in and help? And had me help with the training. From a parent perspective, this is what you're going to look for and this is what you're going to need. So from that point on, I mean, it's been an incredible program for these guys, and they bent over backwards to make this a successful thing. And I so appreciate everything that Bill and Liz did over there at the zoo. And it gave him a lot of experience with the zoo. It also gave him the skills that he needed to be able to be successful in that sort of an environment. And he knew where he needed to go. He knew where he could get away if things were too much for him. He knew the protocols. And that helped him to get the job there as well, too. So not only was he a volunteer, or still is a volunteer, but he's also an employee as well. So he's been very successful with that. And it's been really great.
I love about that story the power of advocacy and the power of sometimes getting thrown into an advocate role and not knowing.
Yeah.
So I love how you were so persistent. What advice would you give to advocates once you hear the first, second, and third no? How to push past the no?
It's the first thing that I always go to is let's educate, and don't just go to the wall, and say, I'm just going to throw all this at you, because all you're going to do is meet resistance. How can you come to a middle ground? How can you educate and say, hey, not the fact that you are breaking ADA law, but I'm not going to say it, but you can say, have we tried this? Can we try this? This is something I can help you with to make this successful for them. I know they can do it. Let's put this in place and see what we can do to make this a success for him.
It's okay. We're all doing it.
Yes.
So, try to get him to be, or not even get him, to have him be able to show that he can do this. I mean, we would have never even known he'd be able to drive a train, even a few years ago. It's something he wanted so bad. It's like, okay, what can we do to put this in place for him? What can we do what steps do we need to achieve? The first one was the license, getting his driver's license, because he could not drive the train without his driver's license. So he is the one that does all the work. He does everything. He worked with Jackie and with the board to be able to pass the test. And so when he passes the test, the next step was going with the University of Toledo and working with James over there on the simulator. And then from there, doing the driving part too, in addition to driving with me. He loves my side seat driving. But he did it. He's wonderful with listening. He's wonderful with learning. He loves to learn, and he loves to teach too. So being able to get that reciprocity back and forth. So if somebody's telling him something all the time, he's able to give them back information too, and he's not afraid to do it. It's like I need more information, or how do I do this? He's not afraid to ask those questions. So
I think that's another powerful too. I think of advocacy is not being afraid to ask the questions
and thinking outside the box sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yes, having to think outside the box.
I laughed when you said side seat driver. I think everybody has had a back seat driver.
Oh, yeah.
A side seat driver, a front seat driver. We've all been there, right?
Uh-huh.
To kind of close out our show, what is your proudest moment raising Jordan?
Oh my gosh. Oh, you're going to make me cry. The first one would have been when he said, Mom. I mean, I just was bawling. He's like, oh my God, he's talking. So that was fantastic. And now look, it's just a late bloomer, right? Other things, his strength to be able to get up in front of people and talk and share and not be scared to death. I mean, I am just terrified all the time. And so his ability and his to see those successes when he does accomplish that and to see that impact, it just, oh my gosh, it's just amazing because not only is he accomplishing his dreams, he's helping other people accomplish his dreams. So when he's going up and doing storytelling, when he's doing eye dance and he's up on stage and you're just like, this is stuff that when he was younger, people told me he'd never do. And he's conquering it. He is wiping it all out. He got his driver's license. Oh my gosh. That kind of stuff is just amazing because all these people have told me all along, he'll never be able to do this. You're going to have to put him in an institution. I'm like, what? That was crazy. So that, to me, and always seeing those accomplishments just makes my heart just melt all the time. So like, this is my baby. He's actually doing this. So it's that part, just his heart, I think, is the biggest thing.
And having an amazing mom who is an amazing advocate for Jordan.
That's so valuable. Yes. That's when you were saying it made me think of like, don't listen to what don't let other people limit you and what you could do.
Absolutely.
Don't listen to the naysayers.
There are always multiple ways to get to that point that you want to be at. Just one blocks it, just go to another one.
I'm so glad that you guys were here today. Thank you so much for coming. It was so awesome.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys for having us. We love being able to do this, right, buddy?
I love it.
If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, or know of an individual program or other success story that you would like us to feature on Larc Lane Conversations, please contact us at llconversations@lucasdd.org.